Hey, super friends. So, my guest today needs no introduction, but he's going to get one anyways. He was actually the first guest we ever had on our channel back when we had, I think, 10 subscribers, which was cool. So Omar from Nearman Condition is the face of Collect Editions on YouTube. He's Marvel's official announcer for Collected Editions. You've helped with official mapping for both Marvel and DC. You've interviewed countless creators. You have over 5,000, around 5,000 videos and over 40 million views, and you're around 121,000 subscribers. So today,
5,000 videos.
yeah, you're
Wow.
about almost 5,000 videos. But more importantly than all that, than all those numbers, is you've managed to keep your community positive, welcoming, and genuinely kind, which I think is even more of a awesome experience. So we're going to talk today about how to start a YouTube channel in the comic book space, what it takes to grow one, and how to stay inspired when you've been doing it for years. So let me start with one question. Be honest. Someone comes up to you on the street today and says, hey, I want to start a comic book YouTube channel. What's the first thing you tell them?
Don't do it.
Yeah.
Stay at your job. Don't do it. Don't spend money. Man, it's a different beast than when I first started. 5,000. God
It's
bless.
like
What is wrong with me?
4,780 videos when
What
I
is
checked.
wrong with me? Of course, I'm not alone anymore, but still, wow, that's a
Yeah.
lot. Okay. It's different than when I first started, than even when you first started. I think it's grown into something else. I think nowadays they focus a lot more on shorts and less on the the type of videos that I like to do, which is those long videos.
Mhm.
But then again, that pendulum can always swing back. It's not always the case that it just stays on focusing on short form videos. I always tell people the same advice. Like, I think it's very important for something like YouTube to be heard. People can't hear you, they're probably not going to watch. So for me, what I usually tell people is, as a matter of fact, I just realized is to get a microphone. And
Mhm.
when I say microphone, I don't mean a microphone um like a fancy mic, like $100 mic, like two. I think that's a lot of the problem that I see people make. A lot of the mistakes is they spend way too much money before they even shoot their first video.
Yeah.
I see that so often, and I always tell people, no, don't spend get like a $15 microphone from Walmart, hook it up to your phone, use that as your camera, and get a couple of videos out there. Get used to it. Have it, because it does take a while to find your voice and find exactly what you're trying to say and how to say it, the tone, and then that tone is the tone of really your channel. And yeah, so I think a microphone is the good starting on point, and then probably after that is consistency, and with the consistency comes scheduling, like scheduling
Mhm.
out. If you can only do one video a month, make sure it's on the same day of the month at the same time. If you do it once a week, same thing. If it's every Wednesday at 12 p.m. or whatever it is, do it at the same time because people like consistency and get used to that. The algorithm is just it's a it's a weird beast these days. That's for sure.
I definitely feel like some parts of the algorithm is science, other parts is magic and superstition. And as soon as you figure something out about it, it changes. And then you're like, shoot, now I got to try to learn it again. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
I guess that's a good question then. Was there something that you thought you needed before you started your channel that turns out it didn't matter at all?
No, I don't. Well, no, because I was doing my channel with a group of
Yeah.
friends. So, and we were really frugal because we had already done a podcast back in 2005. So it wasn't like it was new to us. We had already done some things and kind of learned the hard way. Like, oh, we spent too much money on that. We you know, probably shouldn't do it this time around. So I don't think so. Maybe lighting. I think lighting. We overspent it, but at that moment we had already been doing like goofy videos for
Yeah.
YouTube, so we already had some of the equipment. Um, but yes, microphone. Then you can talk about a camera once you've got a lot of videos in. Lighting is also very important, especially if you're showcasing things. So,
I always try to think back to like our friend Omnidog, for instance, he uses his phone and
mhm.
he's got over 10,000 subscribers just by being genuine and by being authentic, you know? So I feel like that authenticity is in some ways just as valuable as any kind of gear that you can get, you know? So, I our situation is a little bit different because me and Jordan do this professionally now for a company. We have access to all that gear that we get to practice on our YouTube stuff that we do on the side. But definitely, I feel like authenticity and consistency are just as important as a camera or a light.
Mhm.
Um,
I agree. I think it's very rare that people will subscribe to a channel that primarily does live videos because you don't see that because you're just fighting the algorithm if you're doing only live videos. So it's a true testament of who he is, and people continuing to just watch him. So that's great. I'm really proud of him. That's amazing. Because it is really difficult to build a fan base or an audience or a community eventually when you're just making those long form videos that are live streams because
yeah.
YouTube doesn't promote them. Like YouTube never promotes live stream videos, which sucks. They promote most of the time it's just shorts, and I've noticed lately it's a lot of iceberg type of videos. But I am not one to write a script, so that ain't on me.
So then what would you say the benefit, because you do consistent live streams, is that more for
Mhm.
cultivating the community of your subscribers that have already subscribed? Like, what would you say the benefit of doing live streams is?
I think for me, the reason I started doing live streams was I needed that outlet. I don't This is what I do for a living and I'm very blessed, but it is a very, very lonely
Mhm.
job. You don't have work buddies. You don't have people to complain to about how bad something went or be because you forgot to plug in a microphone or you got the wrong lens for the camera or the color correction's off or the lighting is off or YouTube won't let you upload your video. Like all these things that could go wrong. And usually when when you have a place of work, you have people in your group that you can complain to and then go
Yeah.
have some drinks with afterwards to like or go get some food or whatever. Or the wins to go and celebrate. You don't have that, like, or I don't,
Yeah.
because I do this by myself, and I do have some help now, but they live in other states, and it's just to me I needed an outlet to talk to people, and it happened at that time that I did it was the first week of lockdown in 2020. I said I don't know how long this is going to be. They said it's going to be a couple of weeks and then everything's going to get back to normal. So let's start a Saturday live stream, and that's what I did, and it's been going since then. So whenever the first weekend in March was in 2020, so I've been doing it for 5+ years now, and it's helped. I think we've met a lot of people there, and it was really cool. Sometimes comic creators would hang out. And this is when everybody had more time. Now it's back to normal
Yeah.
time. Everything is open, and it's dropped down in views, but that's okay. I still enjoy it, and I need it because
Yeah.
it's my way of talking to people and seeing what they're saying and what they're thinking. Yeah, so it's a different way to be in touch with the community.
I think that's one thing that I'm very blessed is that I get to do this with my best friend. So I don't have to have those lonely experiences. If the mic wasn't working in a video, we're both there together. And that's also one thing I want to say is I'm very grateful that some of us fellow YouTube creators all have a group chat together where we can shell, it's not the same as having an in-person coworker, but at least there we can share our wins and share our mistakes and stuff as fellow content creators, which has been really beneficial to me. But you touched on this briefly. What would you say the hardest part about running a channel is that people don't talk about enough?
Well, I mean, I went over the loneliness. I
Yeah.
think
Would you
there's a
say that's
lot
the
of
hardest part?
well, it depends on when you're asking.
Yeah.
Sometimes it could be a good day, sometimes it's a bad day, and sometimes it's just a day. And I don't think I know when I was a viewer of things, and I didn't really watch a lot of YouTube videos, but sometimes I would watch like the history of video games and things like that, or even people just collecting video game stuff or playing video games. And I thought, man, that would be so cool. I think like a lot of people that it's so cool to have a YouTube channel. You just get up whenever you want to. I feel like recording this right now, and then call it a day. You edit, you call it a day. There's a lot to it or a lot more to it than that. Um, and I think that might be my mentality and how I approach this because even from the beginning, when I decided to go full time, I never treated it like, oh man, I make YouTube videos. That's so cool. That's what my friends thought. Like, oh, that's so cool, man. So you're your own boss and you make your own time. And I'm like, yeah, not really. I'm kind of I'm a slave to the machine.
Yeah.
I put out videos every day. That means I work every day.
On YouTube, it said you do around, is it 16 videos a week? 16 uploads a week is what this app said. That means you're between
Maybe.
shorts and live streams and videos, you're doing more than a video, more than 7 videos a week.
Yeah.
Is that
Um,
accurate?
oh yeah. More than 7 by far. Absolutely. Yeah. That's accurate.
That's
Because
insane.
but it's something that like I have to take serious. I don't know how anybody else runs their stuff, but the way I treat this is like I treat any job I've ever had. You have clock in and clock out. It's difficult to do it when you work from home and you do this
Mhm.
and things are always changing because you you tend to work a lot more than not. Um and
Yeah.
especially those first 3 years whenever you're cultivating what exactly you want this to be. If you want it to be successful, then there are sacrifices that have to be made. And that's a big word to just throw out there. But it is true. You do have to make sacrifice. I actually talked to my buddy Sal from Comics Pop about this last
Nice.
year.
Just saw him about at New York Comic Con. It was great seeing him again.
We bonded over the like he wanted to get with his uncle. Like he was like, yeah, I want to go and hang out with my uncle. But I was like, I can do next Thursday. And his uncle was like, don't you make YouTube videos for a living? Can't we hang out like this week sometime? And I think that's a part of like I think a big part of the success is no, you have to treat it like it's a job. Crap's gonna happen in life all the time, and yeah, you're gonna wake up sick. You and I were talking about New York Comic Con earlier, and I got sick. Didn't matter. I still had a job to do. I had to come down here, and I remember I had to kick off the most wanted Marvel Omnis or Epics. It was one of those while I was miserably sick. I was drowning myself in Dayquil. Thank God I had Taylor and Peter that kicked it off with me, and I had to put myself on mute to cough, to snot away. And that's what this is. Like, if you're gonna do this and do it seriously, you have to make sacrifices. Like, there is no damn sick days, there's no vacation days. You do set time aside because it is good for your mental health.
Yeah.
But there are, and that's why I do a lot of videos. Like, I was actually editing right before I started this, and I got to go back to editing as soon as I'm done. But you have to have enough of a backlog to take time off, right? I don't know how anybody else runs their channel. I never asked. I just assume everybody takes it seriously like I do. And yeah, and when people ask me like how how did I grow so much, or how how do I keep putting out videos, or how do I remember so many things, is yeah, you have to take time aside to read.
Yeah.
Anybody can read a Wikipedia entry and BS their way into making videos, but I think people notice. I mean, people started to notice AI when an AI
Yeah.
generated script is being read. And that happens a lot, like a lot more than people probably think at first. Um, but I think people that actually have read the stuff or know the stuff, probably can tell who hasn't done their homework. And you have to do your homework when doing this. It's not just, hey, I got a free book from a company. Cool. Let me flip through a couple pages. Awesome. This book comes out in January. Don't forget to pre-order. Here's some links to my sponsor. It's actually, to me at least, I have to, somebody went out of their way to send things my way. And the least I can do is do it justice by reading the story and kind of giving it an idea of what it is without putting too much of my thoughts in there, because that was another
Yeah.
difficult thing I had to learn when doing overviews, is just playing a neutral role instead of like, this book sucks, because that is easy. And I think about that. Like, people have asked me, my thoughts on things, and I do think a lot of things suck. The problem is that there's just a lot of that out there.
Mhm.
And if you put out videos with thumbnails like, the fall of comics have never been worse, or whatever it is,
Comics went woke.
or what, yeah, or whatever it is to get people to watch, it's just, I don't know. I like to
So,
sleep at night, so I don't
yeah.
need any of that nonsense in my life. I just, when people ask me my honest opinion about things, I am very honest. On my Saturday live streams, when somebody asks me about why I like a certain story of why I don't like it. But it's yeah, all that nonsense. There's a lot of it out there, especially it's not just comic books. I mean, if you look at movies and video game, Jesus, video games are just as
Yeah.
bad. People just
Movies, TV shows, video
oh
games.
yeah,
You like
everything.
you love anything, you'll find a group of Reddit people hating on it. You know what I mean?
Well, because it is
Um,
easy to hate. It
yeah,
absolutely is. It takes a lot more work to actually, believe it or not, stay neutral or find something positive to say. And I think what ends up happening is that negativity spreads. And then people that haven't even read the books or played the video games or watched the movies or watched TV shows will go and spread that hate elsewhere. And then when you ask them a question, I know because I see it in my streams from time to time, they don't know how to answer because
yeah,
they can only quote their favorite YouTuber or social or influencer so much before they realize, oh, I really don't have a thought on this.
yeah.
It's kind of sad. But there are a lot of wonderful channels out there that teach and and keep it positive and are funny about it. And even when they speak of negative things, like they're witty about it or they come about it with a positive spin. And I like that. That takes a lot more work. So I respect that.
Okay, so that brings up two things I want to talk about, and I'll bring them both up, and we can try to touch on both of them. One of them I would say is you do a lot of overviews, so we can probably touch to new people that are starting their channel what we think the difference is between like an overview and a review, because a lot of times I know that, like you said, you have to be really impartial on an overview. So we could touch on the difference between that and the different types of videos people could make. The other thing I would say is that for me personally, when it comes to making content, it's so much time to record something, script, edit, do all that stuff that like I couldn't imagine having to spend all that time with something I hated. That's why like people say like, "Oh, you seem to love everything." No, I only cover the things I love because I don't have the time or energy to devote making a video on something I didn't enjoy. If I don't enjoy something, you just won't hear me talk about it, you know? So, because that for me is like and I you see other channels that like I feel like they explode because they're riding the hate train, and it but like it just for me I wouldn't enjoy having to spend hours editing a video on a book that I hate.
There's several books I hate, but I think it's a matter of how you approach the overview. And so I have done reviews on my channel. We do them on our segment Old Reader, New Reader, and that's where I really give all my thoughts on what I think about stories or uh, dialogue or the art. I don't know. The difference to me is I don't give ratings. I don't say this is a 9 out of 10, this is a 7 out of 10, because what I'm doing is giving people a preview of a book that they may or may not think about purchasing. And I throw it all out there. The mistakes, the misprints, the binding, whatever it is, if I find it. And I leave it up to them. Because I know those, and I there was I cannot remember the toy reviewer. There was a toy reviewer that reviewed Transformer toys. And I was like, oh, I kind of like his style. And that's what he would do. He would just tell me, a couple of the like toys are a lot different than books, but like give a little brief history on the toy and the character, and then would point out like any paint chips or anything wrong, the price point of the toy, but never shared like this is a piece of junk or you need to go and buy this now. And I think I took that approach when it came to Omnis. That was years ago, or books in general. I do have like my top 10 list. I do list every month on my channel. So I do have my own favorites. But yeah, when it comes to overviews, is like to me, it's always taking yourself out of the equation. Like the like Identity Crisis, I'm not a fan of at all. And when I did an overview of that deluxe edition, I don't share my thoughts on it. I just keep it professional and talk about the story, what it is, and then the artwork, and then talk about the extras in the build and things like that. That's the difference to me. I think a review would have been like, don't waste your money on this. It's awful. But then that's one person's opinion too. I never understood people, like I never watch movie reviews. I don't really care what anybody else thinks because there's a lot of movies I enjoy that a lot of people don't like, and vice versa. There's a lot of movies I don't like that a lot of people love. So I never got into reviews to begin with. So I didn't think I would be good at it anyway.
on your channel, there's different kinds of videos that you make.
Mhm.
So how do you balance? And there's also, I think, something that I'm struggling with is that, like, I think I niched a little too hard. We were like just DC collected editions, and now I'm trying to break out of that and cover collected editions that are, not DC. I don't do a lot of Marvel, but covering more Image and Dark Horse and IDW stuff. And because I feel like DC is never going to work directly with a lot of channels, like in the, in other ways. I feel like they always go through third party marketing reps, but like I feel like I want to start covering companies that might actually work with the creators, the content creators. So for me, I guess my question is, like, how do you balance the content or the books you want to actually cover versus what you have to cover that performs well? Like, I'm sure you do a Batman or X-Men video, it's gonna fucking blow up, but like, how do you balance like one for them, one for you sort of thing?
It's a complicated question because I think there's a misconception with, unfortunately, when people go into YouTube, and I've seen it happen before where people message me, how do I get free books?
Mhm.
And I've seen that happen a lot. And yeah, people have personally messaged me like, how do I get a hold of Marvel? How do I get a hold of Image? And I once I see things like that, I don't know. I guess I turn it around and I'm like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Is it to get free books? Because I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to be you're not going to be happy with the end result. I said, and I think, that's always the understanding. Like, I never made money doing this for the first 3 years I was doing this. I think let me see. So we started the channel in 20 oh man, next year will be 10 years. So we started the channel in 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019. 2019, at the end of 2019 is when we were finally making money off of YouTube. I didn't have a sponsor until the end of, I think towards the end of 2019 is when we finally got our first sponsor. And yeah, people were asking me about sponsorship. They haven't even started a channel. And I was like, whoa, this is so different than when I was doing this stuff. And a lot of it could be because COVID kind of, you know, everybody came in with a sponsor just about during COVID, whether you were into sneakers or baseball cards or comic books, whatever it is. So I think there's a misconception about, putting enough out there and getting free books, being on a comp list, because at the end of the day, every PR person you talk to will tell you the same thing. Everybody wants to be on a comp list. And unfortunately, it doesn't work like that because you have to be able to show them that, they're sending you something, and you got to be able to show them that you're moving those books, that you're helping spread the word. Um, so that's really hard to do when you have so much to read. And I don't have me books anymore. I do my hidden gems from time to time. Like, I try to do them once a month, or I try to talk about, my top 10 list. But I haven't had a chance to read my fun stack, as I call it, in months. I'm looking forward to this trip next week with my daughter, where I actually have some time to read some books. I've set time aside to actually read the books I want to read. But I really don't have that anymore. And that's something that you again sacrifice with doing this for a living. It becomes about reading the books you have to read because somebody sent them to you and you need to get that video out. So I don't really have that balance of me wanting to make videos for books that I want to talk about. It's more of like, oh, this book is coming out this week. Like, DC doesn't send me anything,
Yeah.
and I have to buy my own books for DC to do overviews of. And with that, I can't buy everything. People are like, dude, why don't you do like what you do with Marvel, like the trade paperbacks? And I'm like, well, not only do I have to buy it, I also have to have time aside to read them. And Marvel is blessed me with sending me those books a month ahead of time. So I have myself some time to read. If DC were doing the same thing, yeah, it's doable. But having to get the books, having them shipped them to me, having the time to read them, and some of those books are PC Finest Silver Age, and I just don't
Yeah.
have the time to do that. Um, and why I don't really review like limited edition, like what was it? Somebody wanted me to review the Sandman box set, and I'm like, I love Sandman. It's one of my favorite books of all time. Retail was $500, right? And I said, I
Yeah.
remember because people were asking me on my live stream, I was like, that's like more than half my budget for the month if I were to buy that. Like, I, I gotta make sure I have uh, enough funds to make sure I cover the rest of the books from DC or Image or whomever doesn't send me books. Boom, whomever. And I think that's something people didn't realize, that oh, he can't review everything. And I had to start saying that, like, I can't, I'm not gonna get those. I'm sorry. Like
Yeah.
maybe someone else will. I'm very blessed that publishers love working with me and sending me things. And it is about like timing when those videos should be out and giving myself enough time to read and getting those videos out. So for DC, yeah, I kind of space them out. Those are usually towards the end of the week because I have to get them towards the end of one week, give myself about a week to read them. And luckily, a lot of the stuff I've already read before in trade paperbacks. So I'm very blessed to also have a photographic memory, but only with comics, nothing else. I don't know why. It never came. Well, no, I think it no, I'm lying. I do have a photographic memory. It came in handy in school. But yeah, I don't really do those videos anymore that I want to. I just don't have the time. Uh I I space these out. Like, I know a Batman video will do well no matter what it is. Um an X-Men video will always perform well. Luckily, I'm an X-Men guy, and luckily I like Batman and Nightwing. But yeah, when I want to talk about books like Shade the Changing Man, that video didn't perform that well, and I knew it wouldn't. And you have to think about it like a business, right? I'm spending this much money on this book. It's going to get
Mhm.
me this much revenue. Is it worth it? No, absolutely not. It's not worth it at all. But
Yeah.
it's what I do for a living. So I have to get it and I have to talk about it. There's a lot of books like that. There's a lot of like, YouTube doesn't pay much, even with sponsors. Like, you have to balance that out. It's before you even get your first publisher to send you books. If you're lucky enough that somebody's watching and the right person's watching.
I would definitely say about the whole concept, like, there's no such thing, even I would say, as a free book because your time has value. You're just paying in a different currency than someone who's buying the books, because you have to read the book, do the video, and do all that stuff. And it takes, like you said, a long amount of time. So that's one thing. I would say that there was a period when I'm very blessed with my partnership with Panel Bound Comics. And there was a time when David wasn't making their weekly videos. So he was like, hey, what if I start sending you all the new like releases and you try to pump out quick, because my channel's always been, I only do a few videos a month, but we try to make them very high quality. There was a period when I tried to be like, let me just review ROM Volume 3. I'll read like, oh, I'll try to read it. And I'm like, I realized I didn't care about a lot of these books and I wasn't able to keep up with it. So that like period, that 2 months of me trying to overview every new book, man, gave me such tremendous respect for what you're able to do because I couldn't hang. You know what I mean? Like I have trouble. I only want to make the kind of videos that I'm interested in seeing. And I struggled with trying to cover books that didn't actually excite me. So that was one thing I had to be like, hey, as much as I'd love to get these books, I'm gonna pass on being your only reviewer guy because I just couldn't keep up. Like it was burning me out. So how do you deal with, have you ever felt burnout from comics? Do you still enjoy reading them? How do you still find enjoyment in this hobby? Because it's hard when you commoditize a hobby, when you make your hobby your job.
Mhm. Yeah, it is. I do find a joy and a love still in comics. And honestly, sometimes maybe it's why I do live streams. It's the people's energy that kind of hype me up as to what is exciting them and what they're looking forward to. I love reading. I still love reading. I'm actually, for the first time in years, I'm reading a book series again.
Hmm.
And that's where my fun stack went. I'm reading the Dungeon Crawler Carl series, and it's amazing. I'm on book 4. But yeah, I don't know. You have to love it. That's it. You do have to love reading. If you don't like reading, if you're skimming, if you're like, oh, Silver Age is not for me. No, thank you to Golden Age. Man, Batman comics. You There's no way you can do this. I I have been very blessed all my life. I have enjoyed stories from everything, whether it's comic books, whether it's manga, whether it's European comics. I love it all. If it's a good story, that's what I need. If I like the characters, sometimes I can even surpass the good stories. I'm okay with the okay story as long as I care about the characters. So yeah, that's it. I mean, you have to love this. I can't imagine playing video games for a living and not liking video games and faking it, right? I don't think there's any faking in reading comics for a living, like people that have their own channels. I, you have to love aspects of it as much as sometimes comics piss you off because they're doing something that you don't see the character doing. You still have to have a love for this medium or it's not going to work. And I think that's where I am. I do love this medium. I love what this medium has brought to my life and what it's meant to me. My life is in comics, every aspect of it, and it's played a big backbone in all the highs and the lows. And when man, I've fallen hard. And I think comics have always been there, and I honor that, or at least I hope I do when I talk about them. So maybe maybe I love comics a little too much, but and I think there are a lot of people like that though. I mean, you see people that have been volunteering at conventions that have been volunteering for like 30, 40 years. Some of them don't even get paid. They just go, they get a free ticket, and they're like, yeah, I got to work like a day, but then I get like 2 days to hang out. That's cool. And I love that. I love meeting people like that. Yeah.
So one thing, like I said earlier, that I really love about your channel, and you've touched on this briefly about talking
Mhm.
about books that you love and not spreading hate. What's your advice to new channels as they start to cultivate a community, as they get larger? How do you keep them positive or keep them kind? You know, how do you filter out the kind of community that you want to be associated with?
I think it's a reflection of who you are. Like the community you build or the people that watch you and follow you and comment and keep coming back. You don't have to they don't have to necessarily agree with you on everything. But there's something about you that keeps them coming back, and you seem to attract people of like mind sometimes. And once they see enough of your output, whether it's your pre-recorded videos or your live streams, where you are a little more open and can be yourself, um, they see you for who you are, and that's people are either going to like you or they're not. And that's something very important too. Like when you're starting this, when you're starting this YouTube journey, you got to have thick skin because uh, people that don't agree with you will tend to try to get under your skin, and they will try all kinds of ways. They'll insult your taste, they'll insult your intelligence, they'll insult the way you look, the way you dress, whatever it is, to try to get under your skin. You either ignore it or you can reply to it, and it can be detrimental to your mental health. I've actually, I'm not going to say any names, but there have been some channels that I have been a part of, uh, and I don't think YouTube is for everybody. I've learned that YouTube is not for everybody because when you put yourself out there on a channel, it's almost like an extension of yourself. So if people don't like your channel, that means people don't like you, and you can't look at it like that because that will destroy you. Especially if you only read like if only the negative comments stay with you. And I think that's a tough lesson to learn because anybody can say, "Yeah, I can do that." But I've seen a lot of people focus like as much as they say, "Oh, it doesn't bother me." Deep down inside, it does tear into you. You just got to have thick skin. I learned a long time ago, man, many years ago, not everybody's going to like me. And I'm okay with that. And if you're okay with that, then you can do this. Yeah, absolutely. You're going to piss off a lot of people and you're going to make a lot of people happy. And you got to be okay with that.
I think luckily, I mean, I've had times where there was a lot of negativity towards me or things like that earlier this year. And it was weird because like when it first started, like I was actually excited. The first negative comment I got, I was like, yes, I made it. I'm a real YouTuber now. Definitely learning to not be so like for me, I think I struggled with a lot of like being addicted to YouTube Studio and like refreshing my videos first thing when I woke up in the morning or first thing at night. Like I was too chronically online associated with the algorithmic data of my channel and having to learn to unplug from all of that while
Mhm.
still being informed on if a video did well or not, but not letting the performance of a video or the response of a video like affect me. That was almost harder for me. Like if I put my heart and soul into a video that I thought was going to do well and it bombed, that was more detrimental to me in the beginning than even getting negative comments. So once I realized that all I can do is make the best video possible, and then just start working on the next one. And once I learned to unplug from, you know, refreshing YouTube Studio all the time, I think that was when I started to actually really like flourish with my channel.
Yeah, I stopped with the algorithm like yeah, I think in 2019, like 20, the first year you do it, it's natural to pick up your video because you want to know who's watching. And then when you don't have the views, you're like, "Oh, that sucks. I worked really hard on that." Um that can also be detrimental to your mental health. And I think I just stopped cold turkey, yeah, 2018, 2019. So about 2.5 years into YouTube. Not because I wasn't curious, but I just didn't have the time. This is because there is a reason why I almost have 5,000 videos on this channel, and that's
Yeah.
because I'm pumping out stuff. So a lot like the publishing companies that I've learned, like the publishing world, I'm not really worried about my backlog anymore. I'm worried about the next 2 videos I gotta have out next week.
Yeah.
And that's the way my brain has worked, right? I'm not what went up. I can't even remember some days like what went up because I have them scheduled out like on Sundays. I'm like, okay, these videos are going to come out for the next 7 days. Outside of like the live streams I'm doing or interviews, these videos, unless something happens where somebody it's like, hey Omar, could you maybe put this video out today instead of next week, or we've changed some things. Usually it's scheduled out like 7 days ahead of time, and then I have a backlog of videos. So for me, it's not even like looking back. It's just I don't have the time. And then at the end of the month, I do look at my. I am all about numbers, so I'm a numbers guy. So I do look at those things at the end of the month to see what worked and what didn't work. But yeah, not an everyday thing anymore. And
Yeah.
then there are days that I forget what video. I think Superman went up this morning. I think that's the one.
One thing that I really enjoy, and sometimes it bums me out that they don't perform as well, but they're for me the ones I enjoy the most are creator interviews.
Mhm.
For smaller channels, what do you think the best way for them to get creator interviews is, or to start building those relationships?
Reach out. I mean, I remember having, I think, 35 subscribers when we had a podcast, and I reached out to who Peter David. And Peter David was like, "Yeah, well, come on." And I'll never forget that. Like Peter David, and then after Peter David, I'm like, I'm gonna ask everybody because we just got Peter David. And I had to explain to him what a podcast was. It was adorable. Uh, he thought I was coming to his house, and I'm like, no, it's a phone call. And he was like, what? You're just gonna call my phone? And I'm like, yeah, we're in Kentucky. I miss that guy. So yeah, don't be shy. Don't be shy to ask anybody. Most creators want to get their word out and spread news of their work. And most uh, m- most social creators. There are a lot of creators that suffer from
Mhm.
anxiety and don't want to be interviewed, and don't take that as an insult to you or your channel. And then there are creators that are super busy that just don't get back to you, or maybe not even ever get back to you. And when you see them at a convention, don't call them out. Be like, "Hey, man, I emailed you like 4 years ago." Yeah, just keep it professional and be civil and kind, and yeah, reach out. Don't be shy of reaching out to people. Um, and creators love talking, especially about their own stuff. Yeah, absolutely. Perform as well, but I yeah, I stopped caring about that years ago. I love talking to creators. I love putting a face on people that make these wonderful books. And yeah, people will watch or they won't watch.
I think that's for me, I found the best way is to be persistently professionally kind when it comes to reaching out. I've had some creators that I've reached out to like almost like clockwork once every 3 to 4 months, and it took like a year to get a creator. And he was like, "I'm so sorry, I'm just bad with my phone, but you were persistent enough to where like I could do your like where I could finally make it happen, you know." Other times, like you said, you might never hear back, and it's always surprising. I'll say though that like for us, me and Jordan, we used to just make videos talking to each other that nobody watched. And then we got the idea, what if we invite you and Jess, like the creators that we enjoyed watching, you know, and like that was how we started to become a part of the community, you know, like so that meant a lot. That like what's one thing that I like is that you've done so much to help support smaller channels, whether it's your evergreen fights, you know, where you bring on channels and your friends of
Oh
all different
yeah.
sizes.
Mhm.
So I think that you've done a good job of helping build up smaller channels, you know? So that's one thing that I think I've always tried to do. Whenever anyone's asked me to be on their show, I've always said yes, because I had creators like you guys that were bigger that did it for me, you know? So it's
Uh,
that's
I,
important.
I think it's I I think it's a wonderful honor to be able to help other people because I was there. I remember I was telling I think it was one of my one-on-ones. He wants to start doing a sci-fi show or YouTube channel or something. And I remember telling like it took 3 months to get 100 subscribers for us. There were times that we were making videos that I'm like, I don't think anybody's watching outside of like maybe us and family. So I remember how that was. And I remember when this channel asked us to be on, and the guy had 6,500 subscribers. And I was like, man, that's huge. And I remember that feeling of going on and just, shooting the crap with people about the same things we liked. Uh, so I know how it feels to be there. Uh, Ironically enough, I don't think anybody else ever asked me on that had more subscribers than I did, and I don't know why that is. Outside of
Did,
some of my friends that make YouTube channels, it wasn't like a stranger, like somebody outside of the circle of friends asked me that had like over at even when I was at like 50,000, nobody that had over 100,000 or whatever it was asked me to come on, and that's okay. Not everybody not everybody has the time, and also bigger channels are big for a reason because they usually don't do live streams, and live streams, like I mentioned, kind of destroy your YouTube algorithm, which is a bummer, but it's just a sad part of that.
okay, so I guess my last big question would be, do you feel like there's a piece of advice you would give someone on their way to 100 subscribers? Is there a piece of advice you'd give someone on their way to 1,000 and someone on their way to 10,000? Like, because a quote that I heard that I really liked is 0 to 1,000 is about quality, 1,000 to 10,000 is about consistency. And I feel like that was something that I really liked, that like getting your way to your first 1,000 subscribers is you figuring out what your channel is and how to make the good quality stuff that they want to see. And then going from past that is just being consistent with the quality that you've cultivated. So, do you have any advice for people at different channel benchmarks?
Yeah, don't I mean, one of the things they forgot in that mathematical equation was luck.
Yeah.
Sometimes people luck out. Sometimes your channel is shared at places you don't even know exist that have a huge following, and you're like, "Where did all these views come from?" Yeah. No, the advice that I have is no matter where you are, whether it's 100, 1,000, 10, uh, 20,000, 50,000, 100,000, keep it humble. People forget, you know, we all started somewhere. Like respect your audience. That's something that I live by. I put my viewers first, you know. Despite of everything else, the minority of people that say I side with publishers or my sponsors or whatever that's happened in the past, it's always been my viewers first. If I notice that there's something going on, I bring it up and I change it. So keep it humble. It's all about your viewers. Without them, you know, who's watching?
I think, was it you? You told me one time when we had a chat. I think you said that like a lot of us. One piece of advice that you told was a lot of us, we share the same subscribers. You know, which I thought was
Yeah, there's that, right? I mean, it's a niche of a niche. So a lot of we do. Yeah, I see a lot of the same faces sometimes in my friends' chats, and it's great. I have no idea how they're all have the time to watch so much, but I think it's
yeah.
wonderful.
Do you ever wish you could like broaden your niche from just collected editions to like just comics, or are you happy that you found your specific niche? Because sometimes I struggle with like there's like single issue comics that are really exciting, and I'm like I would love to make a video on that, but I feel so beholden to the niche that I cultivated.
Why? It's your channel.
I guess I don't know. I'm at that stage now where I feel like the way to keep my channel growing is to start broadening my niche, which was something that for so long all the advice on YouTube was like find your niche and just keep making that type of video that everyone wants to see. But now I'm getting to a point where I want to start making different kinds of videos, and I'm hoping that they perform well. Like this video right here is one example of that. I don't know if there's a market for a series where I interview other comic book YouTubers and get their advice, but I want to make this video, so I'm starting to branch away from my niche.
I don't think there's anything wrong with trying. We do single issues from time to time. My wife loves single issues, and companies sometimes send us single issues. Creators send us single issues. Without single issues, there are no collected editions. I mean, I don't want to branch out to like, like reviewing beach houses because I'm given one for a week and they're like, hey, we love your channel. Maybe you could talk about our beach house. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can only broaden yourself so much before you are considered, even looking in the mirror, consider yourself a sellout, right? I've shared this with you before about,
Levi jeans.
Well, that and fresh balls, right? And like, no, I still no, nothing to do with what I do. So no, thank you. Even things like Whatnot I've turned down twice because they can't. Like, Whatnot wants me to sell things. Whatnot was willing to send me books to sell, pretending they were my books. And at that point, I was like, I'm not. No, I think you guys are looking for someone else, and I'm not the one because I give away books. I don't sell books on my channel.
Yeah.
So I mean, even sponsors like that I've turned down, or free things like free shirts, like I've turned down because I'm in front of the camera. Like, when do I have to? Maybe on a live stream, maybe I should just rewrite a contract. I don't know. But yeah, you gotta pick and choose sometimes because it can be like overwhelming. Like, what do you turn away and what do you say yes to? I have been offered money for interviews, and I read. I can say it now. This was a few years ago, but there were a group of people sent me a graphic novel. It was the first graphic novel, and it was awful. And the guy that had emailed me emailed me again and said, "Hey, we sent you the book. Thank you, for showing it on your live stream. And is there any way that we can do an interview? We're willing to pay this much." And I said, "No, thank you. I can't, I can't bring it to myself to tell my audience that I'm okay with this book. I didn't like it. I'm sorry." I think he never emailed me back, so I don't think he liked that. But I was just being honest. I'm not gonna lie to people and be like, "Man, you all should check out this book. This is amazing." Like, if you can do that, more power to you. But I can't. It was not a good book. And yeah, so even those people I've turned away, people that have offered me money for interviews, and I'm like, I don't charge anyone money for interviews. Just come on and talk to me about your book. But unfortunately, when you do that, when you do so many creator interviews, it's very time consuming, and as you said, it doesn't get a lot of views. But also the other thing is like, you have to start turning some away, and it breaks my heart because I want everybody, to have a spotlight, because I know how hard it is to put your book out there on Kickstarter and no one has eyes on it, and you want to spread the word. I know how difficult. I have friends that are going through that. And it sucks that I've had to say no. And I've had to say no to like other creators for just because of scheduling reasons. Like usually my schedule is like a month ahead, a month and a half for live interviews. And sometimes creators are like, "Hey, I got a book coming out next week. Is there any way I can come in?" And I've had to say, "No, I'm so sorry. I'm scheduled out." Like, it sucks, but at some point you do have to start saying no to things, and those aren't easy, especially for me, because I enjoy talking to creators, every one of them. And yeah, sucks, but got to keep it professional. And also I got to have time to read the stuff.
Yeah, that's a big one. I'm sure, as you do 1,000 times more than me, get the emails of, "Hey, will you read and review this PDF of this indie comic, or will you promote this Batman trading card game?" And I feel like for me, I've only ever said yes to one thing, and that's because it was a product I had thought about buying for myself. It was a Batman sit standing desk that was like the coolest thing ever. It's the only thing I've ever said yes to, but it's hard because it's hard to make the distinction of if Dark Horse were to email me and say, will you review this book versus like someone's indie book that like, it's just hard to know when to say yes and when to say no, but you can't cover everything, you know?
Well, I've
So
had, I mean, I'm not going to say what publisher, but there has been a publisher that asked me to review books. And they were only going to say, they were only going to send PDFs. And I said, well, my overviews are done on physical books. I'm like, I don't mind reading them first on PDF if you want to send me a physical book later. And they were like, no, we don't send physical books. And I said, okay, well, I will still do overviews of the books that I buy from you all. So, I mean, I do. I still buy books from them. And even though they don't send me anything, I still do overviews of their stuff. Right? Got to keep it professional. I can't just burn bridges because somebody's not sending me a free book. Yeah. The saying no is a lot harder, especially when you make YouTube videos for a living. You get to the point where, wow, that would be nice income, extra income. But you know, you have your brand, and your brand is the most important thing. Like it sponsors will come and go, but your brand is what you hold, and that truly is who you are. And I think that's very important. And people, bigger you get, you tend to forget that.
Well, I want to say thank you so much for this hour. You are the godfather of collected editions in this niche that we're in. You inspired our channel back when, like I said, when we had 10 subscribers. So to everyone who watched this, if you're thinking about starting a comic book channel, we need more voices. You might think this niche is saturated, but there's always room for your voice if you're authentic to yourself. You just need to have some passion and some love for comics. You probably already are, but make sure to check out Near Mint Condition if you haven't already. Subscribe. And if you're building your own channel, comment down below. I would love to get a list of new people who are starting their channels out in the comments down below so that we can all grow this community together, because I truly believe that the rising tide raises all ships. I think that if someone else has a new channel that comes out of the gate killing it, that's going to have that's more people watching comic book content. Maybe my video gets recommended after theirs, so I truly think that we're all a part of the same community, and I want to keep seeing it grow because I feel like the world of collected editions is just still growing. So I'm very blessed to be a part of it.
Yeah, we're living in some great times of collected editions.
Keep reading.
And hold on, let me do that one more time. That's his. I didn't expect that. Okay.
Keep reading.
And much love.